The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondell.
Wasn't like we didn't have the money to buy these things, but in her eyes they were fine. Just a little worn by a big brother torn right above the knee with a green grass stain. I didn't know any better back then, and all I cared.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Stage Door Show tonight. This is Dave Hondell. Well, tonight we have a good friend of the show with us, Ty Clark. He's an amazing singer, songwriter, director, and producer, and he's one of the most sought-after industry pros in Nashville. And he has a new single out that we'll talk about, but first I want to bring him in. So Mr. Ty Clark, how's it going, brother?
It's great, man. How are you?
I'm doing real well.
Good.
We were talking a little bit before we record, and you got 10 acres down there in Nashville, around Nashville. Man, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, dude, it's I'm gonna credit that all to my fiance finding it, man. She scours the internet, and I mean, even had like she found it somehow. Like I have a lot of resources and stuff still with the real estate whenever I was doing that, but man, she found it on like a Facebook group or something. She was like, "Hey, can we go check this out?" We came down and we saw it. We're like, don't show it to anybody else. We want it. Let's and so, yeah, they let us have, she's big into like the equine industry and stuff. And so, she's always had horses, and she's had horses when we met, and as we'll continue to probably always have horses, and kind of rekindled my love for it too. I kind of grew up around it as a kid, but never got super involved. But yeah, it's kind of rekindled that whole deal. But it's been great, man. Yeah, like we've got room for, we got like the back pasture, I think is probably like 3.5 acres, and then we've got like a little section like where the house and stuff is, and then the front pasture is like 5 acres, I think. So we can kind of swap them back and forth as needed, but man, it's so nice. And being away from the city, the hustle and bustle, kind of be able to hear the crickets and see the stars. It's it kind of inspires you to write a couple songs there too. So it always helps out.
I was just gonna say, Ty, I mean, it's got to be an inspiration to write some of these songs, and as a songwriter, I mean, you're always looking for inspiration, but
absolutely
living out there like that, man, it's got to be easier to do. And also, you have a new song called Hand Me Downs, and I heard the song, amazing song, by the way. And, you have I think a knack for writing great lyrics, but also the melody as well. And I was going to ask you that question as a songwriter. I knew you play the guitar when you say, I mean, what comes first, really, the melody or your lyrics, or does it kind of interchange sometimes?
Man, there's so many different avenues, and I think I've always kind of kept that same mindset. Is like, if the melody comes first, just kind of roll with it. But if there's some lyrics or something that pop in your head, then just write them down and kind of keep a running tally of it. I mean, I think the old school way was to kind of keep a notebook, but now we keep everything in our phones. So I've just got like my little note section in my phone, and I'll write down little bits and pieces of lyrics and stuff. But man, Hand Me Downs in particular, I wanted it to be perfect. And so I took the song itself kind of came to fruition and wrote itself essentially just because that's something that I lived and something that I'd really experienced. And, but as far as the melody kind of all came together pretty easily the guy that produced the song for me, Zach Mano. The guy is just like, he's just a whiz when it comes to just kind of hearing it and creating a vision. We kind of sat down and talked about a lot of stuff, but I had like the base, just the base of how I wanted it to sound, gave him a couple of ideas and let him run with it, and kind of gave him the freedom to do that, which I do that with a lot of the producers and stuff that I work with, because those guys, they're producers, they have a vision, they're creative in their own right, just like we are as songwriters or maybe as singers or something. So I like to let them kind of do their thing. And if we have to kind of maybe tweak a few things here and there, whatever it is, or add an instrument or maybe take a little bit out, then, that you just kind of have that rapport with those producers and to be able to talk to them and communicate about it. So that's easily, like Zach's so easy to work with. But we did, took a long time with the song because I really wanted it to be perfect. And I love the finished product. And I've been playing it out like at Songwriters rounds for, man, it feels like forever before. And, I finally actually released the song, and am I getting ready to release the song? You know, and so it's just been kind of one of those moments like, hey, you know, there's no better time than now. You know, if you're not ready now, you're never going to be ready to do it and release the song. So here we are. It's coming out.
Daddy's out in the front yard working hard on an old broke down GMC. My head's reeling from a broken heart. My first love had got the best of me. When he saw tears, he grabbed my shoulder, said, hold the light, son, and listen close. There's a couple of things that you can't see. You're still young, put it in the past. This might be your first heartbreak, but it won't be the last. 'Cause I didn't know any better back then, and all I cared about was fitting in with some people I ain't heard from in a while.
You know, and the other thing that you mentioned that I think would interest a lot of our listeners is the fact that, you know, you collaborate with a lot of people, and you might have written a song. And I think some people get a little, you know, a little protective, I guess, of their, you know, what they wrote, and they have a certain vision for it. But, you know, collaborating with these professionals that have heard a million songs, you know, they might be able to say, okay, hey, I think, you know, maybe instead of this key, let's go to this key, or, you know, maybe instead of the hook being here, let's put it here.
And that's it.
That's what they do, right? I mean, you're a producer too. So when you listen to music and you hear it a certain way, and you know what's going to hit, or you know what's going to be, I guess, accepted by the audience. I mean, talk about the fact that sometimes you got to kind of relinquish some of your, you know, some of your control over your stuff to kind of make it better, right?
It's funny that you say that, because that's exactly what happened with me and Zach. I think I was playing that song on Capo 3, and Zach was like, hey, let's bring it down to Capo 4. And I think that's going to maybe fit your voice a little bit better. Or maybe it was vice versa, or however I was doing it there. But yeah, it was just one little tweak, and I was like, wow, okay, yeah, that you're right, you know, and I don't have a problem, you know, not admitting that I'm wrong, but, you know, saying, hey, maybe that's a better way to look at that, or way to attack this particular situation here. But yeah, no, that like I said, that's funny you mentioned that, because that's exactly what happened, and allowing him to maybe hear something I can't. It's just like setting an extra set of eyes on something. If you're getting too close in on it, or you're focusing too hard, and you kind of take a step back and say, hey, take a look at this. And they say, oh, what's this? It's glaringly obvious right there in front of your face, but you're just too close to it. So it's the same thing with music. You know, you can get too close to it sometimes. So it's always good to have another creative mind, or another 2 or 3 creative minds that come in. And that's also the glory of songwriting too. So collaborating is a glory in its own right there, just because of the fact that 2 heads, 3 heads are better than 1 always. When it comes to this song, this was a solo write. I do love writing with other people, but you know, this song in particular, I'd reached out to a couple of guys, and you know, saying, hey, look, you know, you want to write this song? I had this really cool idea. And they're like, yeah, let's coordinate something. Let's get on each other's schedules. And, you know, like we couldn't link up. We couldn't find the time to, you know, whether they were busy or I was busy, whatever it was. And finally I just sat down, and it all just kind of fell out on paper one day. I was like, well, I guess I'm doing this by myself then.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's kind of how it happened.
You know, and what are your thoughts on the music industry as far as country music goes? Because I think over the past several years, you know, country music has really gained popularity, not just in, you know, rural areas, but I mean, you know, a lot of urban areas too, like downtowns. I mean, people are blaring country music in their cars. And I mean, that's got to be an exciting thing for a writer like yourself, or a performer, that, you know, it's more, I guess it's more of a widespread acceptance to, than it was in the past. But I mean, myself, I love country music, but it's nice to see the popularity growing and growing.
Yeah, well, man, and I think one of my favorite things to watch on TV is like I think it's like the Crossroads, the CMT Crossroads thing, where you'll get like a pop artist and a country artist like collabing. I think like this was an old one, but Luke Combs and Leon Bridges, and then like Halsey and Kelsey Ballerini, like they would just kind of all like, but they're starting to do a lot more of the crossover stuff, and they're kind of all starting to just kind of melt in together, which that's such a cool thing because of the fact that I've been multi-genred for a long time, and not scared to, maybe write a rock song or a rap song
Right.
and a country song, or mix the two together, however it is. So, yeah, man, it's a great thing to see, and I think one of my favorite things that's going on right now is the direction that Hardy is taking. That guy's like he kind of started off, and he's an amazing songwriter. So, like, I mean,
Right.
that's just a whole different conversation in itself. But the guy like kind of started off like pretty country,
Yeah.
and now he's doing like this whole rock side of it, of everything, and I'm like, yeah, I can get behind this. This is really cool. So,
Yeah.
yeah, man, it's just a cool thing to see, just overall, just kind of how the genres are kind of combining and crossing over, and then everybody's kind of getting on board with the country music. We know whatever style it may be, whether it be kind of the pop country or the classic country or the red dirt stuff, whatever it may be. Everybody's kind of starting to get some recognition there.
Well, that's good. And and also just some of the young artists that are out there. I mean, I think it's good that they that there's really not a genre of music right now that's kind of overshadowing the other. And so it's got to be exciting for a new artist that are out there, trying to make it, that you have a lot of options out there to kind of reinvent yourself. You might do like a country album now, but like you said, do a rock album, a pop album. I mean, there's so many different options to and with the streaming services, you can put all your
That's what I
music
was about to
whenever
say.
you want, right?
Yeah, man, and they make it so easy these days to put music up, to get on Spotify or iTunes, and it's kind of funny because I talk to people still a lot to this day that don't realize that, and they think that you're some like this superstar if you have a song on
Right.
Spotify, and not to discredit that by any means, but the way that these streaming services make it very easy to upload. You can go to TuneCore, which one I use. That's the first one that comes to mind. But any of those platforms that you can upload your music and make sure that it gets put out to all these different streaming platforms. It's just really cool because you can, like you said, kind of, you could, if you wanted to just play with different genres, you could do a rap album or a rap song, or you could do a rock song, whatever it is. And, it's you expressing yourself. So that's the cool thing about music too.
What do you have to do because of all the competition out there to make sure that people listen to your music? I mean, we talk about marketing, we talk about other avenues, but what's the most important thing as an artist once you put your music on a streaming platform? I mean, how do you effectively market that so that you get the most streams for because a song could only live for so long. I mean, especially in the United States, you hope for longer, but I mean, let's be real. I mean, songs only last for a certain amount of time. So timing is of the essence. So how do you market your music?
Man, you get out there, you just got to be present. You gotta, kiss the hands and shake the babies. I think obviously social media is such a big beast to try to conquer. But if it's used correctly, then you can really market well. And I mean, if you've got the budget, and that is as terrible as it sounds, I guess, because a lot of these younger, maybe independent guys or these younger artists are just trying to break through. Maybe they don't always have that budget, but I mean, these days, Facebook, you can throw $100 at something, you can get a lot of engagement, but as far as like getting, like maybe doing like boosted ads or something like that to try to market yourself better. But man, it really comes back to writing good songs, starting off, putting those songs out there and really giving the consumer something that makes them feel something that they like, and you just got to keep putting it out there, as far as the music in general, because the consumer in itself, like, and I'm a music consumer too. And when I'm on that side of it, I get really greedy because like I hear somebody put out a song and I'm like, hey, all right, when's the next one ready? You know, when are we going to hear the next one? And so it's staying relevant in that sense of putting out music and putting out good music. But when it comes to the marketing, man, I feel like my best way that I've done things is social media and getting out there, playing the writers rounds, you know, being involved in the scene, and kind of, you know, making sure that you're self-promoting a lot. I mean, especially from an independent standpoint, you have to.
Yeah. You know, and Nashville is so popular with tourism as well right now. So a lot of people come to Nashville from all over the world.
Yeah.
And so how important is it to get, like you said, out there and perform at, like you said, the writer circles, or, you know, maybe at some of the, you know, some of the nightclubs that are all over Nashville. I mean, even if it's not a big nightclub, I mean, you never know who's going to be in that audience that night.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's true too. And I mean, I think that speaks a lot for the way that it used to be. You know, because like, I mean, playing, you know, maybe downtown at a bar on Broadway or something like that. Those are awesome. That, yeah, absolutely, go down there, cut your teeth, you know, get your chops that way. But, you know, I don't necessarily know if that's still the same avenue that you see as much as maybe you used to. But definitely there's always going to be people in the bar. There's always going to be people at those places, and they might recognize you there. So you have to get out there and you have to do it, whether it's downtown Broadway, whether it's, you know, Midtown, whether it's, you know, anywhere that has a music scene within, you know, just because I say Midtown, just because you've got, you know, Demumbrian and you've got Division Street and stuff like that that's over there with Midtown, or with Winners and Losers and like Live Oak and all those places that are doing the big writers rounds. And so that's definitely the spot to be, Midtown, if you're going to be, you know, really playing a lot of music as far as the writers rounds and stuff go. But yeah, I think just overall, you just gotta get out there and you got to do it, man.
What do you think of, you know, like I see a lot of people that kind of pack up the van and, you know, drive to different cities. If you're maybe out of Nashville, but maybe, you know, you want to try to spread the word of your music to other cities. I mean, what do you think about touring if you're not like maybe a named musician? You know, you try 100%. to set up dates, you know, in other cities. Is that a good idea?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, man. I mean, of course, like, I mean, if you can get in to places, dude, then, and if you, whether you're going to that city for a particular purpose, you know, I've got buddies that, my friend, one of my buddies actually just released a song, Fender Bender, the other day with, Corey Wise and Michael Pace. They just released theirs, but Corey, he's from Wisconsin. And that guy goes back, you know, up to Wisconsin, and he'll gig out up there for, you know, 4 or 5 days, and then try to hit some spots on the way back, or he'll try to plan it on the way up or on the way back. But yeah, 100%, man. Like, I mean, if you're able to do it, and, you know, set a destination, you know, say like, I mean, I'm going to go back home to Louisiana, and I want to go get some gigs in Louisiana. My route back home is going to be going down 40. So I would maybe try to set something up in like Memphis or Little Rock, or maybe Hope, Arkansas, or Texarkana. And just kind of, as you're going back down, you know, try to hit it like that. And, you know, if you're taking 4 or 5 days to get back home, but yeah, if you have the funds and the availability to tour, even as an independent artist, 1000%. Yeah, absolutely. Take advantage of that.
I mean, do you ever go through periods, you know, and I do this as a creative person myself, but I'll go through little periods where I don't even want to touch the microphone, or I don't want to touch a video recorder or anything like that. I mean, you know, and then I just take a month off, and then I come back just refreshed. I mean, do you think it's important to take breaks sometimes?
You know, man, I was actually just having this conversation last night with one of my coworkers. He's out of Texas. You know, he's one of the reps out there, and when just chatting with him, and he used to kind of be in the music scene a little bit, and he was telling me, "Oh, I don't even hardly even play anymore." And I told him, I said, "Man, I think, you know, 2022 was kind of, I experienced a lot of that." And it wasn't like a burnout. It was just that, you know, there was a lot that I had going on. And it was a very busy year. I just, you know, with the ups and the downs, you know, because I experienced a lot of both. And so where maybe everybody's a little different, and maybe some people will take inspiration from the ups, or maybe take inspiration from the downs. I sort of just kind of just switched my focus in some cases. Maybe I will, but it keeps that kind of as ammo, but not so much just used it right away. And so, yeah, I think this year I experienced a lot of that to where, the guitar is just sitting kind of in the corner over there, and you're like, I just don't even want to touch it right now. Maybe you don't have the motivation or inspiration because your mind's on other things and you can't really get into it. And some people like just push past it, but I'm not a believer of forcing, the music to happen. I'm always a big believer in like, hey, it'll happen when it's going to happen. And I have the confidence in my songwriting abilities. I have the confidence in my guitar playing that when that time does happen, it's just going to pick up and I'm just going to do it. And so that's the way I've always kind of been. May not write a song for 3 months and then I may write 5 in a week, or more, so that's just kind of the way that I've always been. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in don't try to force anything just because of the fact that I think that's going to lead to burnout a lot quicker than if you just took a step back for a month, a day, a week, or 6 months, however long it takes you to kind of regain that love for it, or maybe just get refreshed or whatever it is, kind of taking a vacation from it almost in a sense.
As an artist, what's your favorite part of being an artist? I mean, what's if that one thing that's like a spiritual experience for you?
I think right after finishing a really good song, and it's a good song, whether you write it with people or whether you write it by yourself, whatever it is, I love the process of writing, because it's almost like an out of body experience for me in a sense, because of the fact that it's like you get so involved and so focused on it, so concentrated on it, that once you're done, you kind of look up and you're like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't remember where all this was coming from. Like you said, it's kind of like a spiritual type thing. It's like, I don't remember where all this was coming from, where this idea was or that idea, but here it is on paper. And then you play it back and, and it always sounds better a week later, in my opinion, just because you've tweaked it a little bit, here and there. Maybe you found a different chord that sounds better, whatever it is. And so, as you play it, and then you kind of really start to fall in love with that song even more and more and more. And then you sit back and you go, this is awesome. I love this part. Yeah. So I think right after finishing a really awesome song, Hand Me Downs is a perfect example. I looked at it and, or She's Like Louisiana was probably, was up there, was my favorite. And now that I wrote Hand Me Downs, and that's the next single that's coming out, I sent that to my brother and he was like, dude, that's like the best effing song that you've ever written. And I was like, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And so, I look up to him and I really take take what he says, really seriously. And for him to kind of give that feedback on it, to give that, those kudos on it really meant a lot. So I was like, all right, yeah, I think we're on the same page. I think everybody's going to like this one.
Do you obviously it sounds like he gives you honest advice, right? I mean, if there's something that he doesn't like, he'll tell you.
Oh yeah. He's like, no, you need to scrap that one.
Yeah. We need people like that as an artist, right? We need people that'll give us honest advice.
And I always know too, if it's not good, he just won't say anything back.
you know right away.
That his silence is the answer. And so I know right away, he won't text me back for like 2 weeks. And then like he texts me about something else, like, oh, where are we going to go hunting at this year? And I'm just like, oh, so you didn't catch that voice memo that I sent you 2 weeks ago? And he's like, oh yeah, don't do that. And I'm like, all right, cool.
That's funny. Well, what's coming up next? I mean, what are you working on? After Hand Me Downs, you have some performing coming up, or are you still working on writing?
Yeah, man, I've got, I've actually just talked with another buddy of mine. I've got 2 producers that I love to go back and forth with. When Zach, obviously, when he has the time, he's such a good producer that he's totally booked up. And then my other buddy that's produced She's Like Louisiana, Jake Garner, he's on the road quite a bit. And so whenever I can grab either one of those guys, I'll talk to them and try to track some songs with them. But we have one. Jake and I started maybe like midway through last year, and we both just kind of got so busy. But it's a song that I wrote with a buddy of mine. His name's Jonathan McClendon. He's a fantastic songwriter. But my goal is to try to put that one out next. It's Marbles and Moonshine. And like I said, we've got a bunch of it tracked already, a bunch of instruments and stuff done. It's just kind of, doing the final vocals, and that may happen in a month, it may happen in 3 months, but I'm gonna get this song out that I've got coming out here soon, Hand-Me-Downs. I'm gonna get that one out, and then we're gonna focus on the next one after that. So again, I mean, and I wish I could follow that trend of like what kind of like Zach Bryan's doing, or like Muscadine Bloodline's doing. Like those guys, they're releasing new songs each week, it sounds like, and I think Zach Bryan probably released like 60 something songs last year. I'm like, dude, that's unheard of, man. What are you doing? But then, Muscadine was kind of the same way. That they released a ton of songs, and it's like, man, those guys, I mean, they have the material to do it, and and more power to them. If I had 60 songs to release in a year, I would definitely do it, or that good of songs to release in a year, I'd definitely do it. But right now I think that, like I said, we're gonna get Hand-Me-Downs out, and then try to keep pushing that one for a bit, and then we'll kind of revisit, or kind of get back to the drawing board, I guess, and realize and to kind of figure out which one's going to be next. So, but I like the sound of it as far as Marbles and Moonshine coming out next, and like I said, that may be summertime jam.
So how about Hand-Me-Downs? Do you have a target date for that release?
We're looking at, I think it's February 3rd on that one. I need to look at my calendar real quick. Yeah, so it's February 3rd on that one. It's coming out. So it's gonna be soon. Yeah, here soon.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. I know our listeners will love to pull that up and download that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Before we go, Ty, because I know with your wealth of experience and knowledge in the industry, we always ask everybody to give a little piece of advice to our listeners. So what kind of advice can you give our listeners out there that might be like a new musician, songwriter, budding producer, that type of thing? And what do you tell them?
And I think that, so there's two things really that I want to kind of touch on, and I've always kind of done or had the same vision, I guess, of it. But a long time ago, and not to like name drop or try to make myself sound cooler than what I am or anything like that, but I played like a celebrity golf tournament one time, and Mitch Russell was part of like the celebrity guys and he got paired up with us. And so I had a chance to, like, I was driving the car, Mitch was riding, and I was talking with him, and I asked him, I was like, hey man, as a young songwriter, this guy's, he's written #1 hits for Garth Brooks, man. Like he's a real deal. So I asked him, I said, man, what piece of advice would you give? And he said, man, you just live, dude, and like experience those things and have fun, and just do all the things. So I was like, all right, cool, and that's what I've kind of tried to do. And that's kind of where Hand-Me-Downs has come from, or She's Like Louisiana is kind of the same thing too. But with the other piece of advice is write songs that you want to write and cut songs that you want to write. At the end of the day, if you're either good or you're not, and not to be mean or crude or anything like that, but you have to have faith in your talent. You have to have confidence in your talent, but write songs that you want to write. Because at the end of the day, like when you look back on it in 40 years, you may be a superstar and you signed a record deal and you said, oh, I did it. And, you can say, I got recognized off of the songs that I wanted to write. And if you don't get signed, and and you don't get a record deal, and you don't tour all over the country or anything like that, you can look back and say, I wrote the songs that I wanted to write, and I had fun with music. Because that's the second that music stops being fun is the second that you need to step away from it and kind of take that break from it, or whatever it is. So always try to have fun with it. Write the songs that you want to write, and just live, and write the songs from that.
That's great advice. Always, Ty, you're always welcome on the show anytime. We love having you on.
Appreciate it, Dave.
And just appreciate what you do out there, and we all love your music. So Hand-Me-Downs coming out February 3rd, 2023, and make sure you check that out, download it on all platforms, and again, Ty Clark, thank you for joining us tonight, and I can't wait for the next one.
All right, appreciate you, Dave.